was the early 1900s, and the Middle East and Arabian Peninsula, which were on Ottoman territories at the time, were experiencing unusual activity. The Middle East, which had been under Turkish rule for nearly 400 years, was suddenly filled with many Westerners, disguised as archaeologists, travelers, mountaineers, or curious tourists. Many of them were British. It was not normal for the Middle East, a land built on deserts where time moves slowly, to attract so much attention. But the true intentions of the Europeans would soon become clear. In this period, when the importance of oil was well understood, the British and Arabs were secretly working to break away from the Ottoman Empire in this region, which was known to have rich oil deposits. These activities were mostly carried out under the guise of archaeological studies. British agents posing as archaeologists were operating in the region. One of them was Gertrude Bell, a female agent of the British intelligence organization M16, who became famous as the Queen of the Desert. Her full name was Gertrude Margaret Lothian Bell. She was born on July 14, 1868, in County Durham, England, to a noble family. After completing her primary and secondary education in various schools in London, Bell decided to attend Oxford University to study history. She excelled in her studies and became the first woman to graduate from the school with top honors. After graduating, she began her life as a traveler, archaeologist, and adventurer. She traveled extensively in Europe and later in the Middle East. In 1899, after visiting Jerusalem, she left her comfortable life in England to live in the deserts of Arabia because she had developed a great love and interest in Arabs. She traveled throughout the region, made maps, participated in excavations, and established close relations with Arab tribes during these studies. Gertrude Bell was not the kind of woman who stayed at home and could be easily suppressed. For this reason, the Arabs admired her strong personality, intelligence, and abilities. She could speak Arabic like it was her mother tongue. She could ride horses very well, and she could act fearlessly against difficulties in harsh desert conditions. Her demeanor immediately won her favor among the Arabs and gave her considerable influence. Gertrude Bell's work was not limited to the Middle East. For a period in March 1907, she traveled to Anatolia with British agent William Ramsay, who posed as an archaeologist and collected information about the region through numerous maps and photographs, as well as excavations. In fact, Gertrude Bell was not yet a real intelligence officer during those years. In other words, she had not been trained or educated to be a professional intelligence officer. However, when her adventurous identity was combined with the British state's desire to conquer the region, life slowly began to push her towards becoming a British agent. As a matter of fact, it is known that she shared a lot of information about Sultan Abdul Hamid's administration with the British government. When World War I began, British intelligence wanted to take advantage of her influence among Arabs and her experience in the region, so they assigned her as an agent. Her mission was to incite Arabs against Ottomans and incite revolts in the region. It was during this period that she experienced great pain that turned her life upside down. Her fiancé, Major Dick Doty Wiley, who was a British officer with whom she was passionately in love, was killed by Turkish soldiers defending their homeland in Battle of Gallipoli. According to legend, Gertrude Bell came to Gallipoli with special permission, and at the grave of her beloved, she said, "I hate the Turks," and swore that she would take revenge. Bell, who never married again in her life, became an enemy of the Ottomans and Turks. Her mission to incite rebellion against the Ottomans and dismember the state became the biggest goal of her life from then on. In October 1915, Gertrude Bell was sent to Cairo to prepare Arab uprising against the Ottoman Empire. Here she met the famous British agent known as Lawrence of Arabia. Together they became organizers of Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire. Gertrude Bell, who had very good command of the region, mentored Lawrence in getting to know tribes and region and developing strategy. Even though Lawrence is usually emphasized in history books, it was Gertrude Bell who determined which tribes were dissatisfied with Ottomans in these lands, at which points and with whom rebellion would start, and who was main determinant of many details. In fact, it was Gertrude Bell alone who caused the British to open many war fronts against the Ottoman Empire in the east, especially the Syrian front, with information she provided to British government during World War I. When World War I ended, just as she wanted, the Ottoman Empire was expelled from the Middle East. Gertrude Bell continued her life in Arabia after the war and played a major role in determining the fate of the Middle East to this day. Her ideas were utilized in drawing borders of Arab countries established after the war, especially Iraq. According to some sources, she even drew many political maps herself. A letter she wrote to her father in England confirms this. "I spent the whole day in office drawing desert border in south of Iraq." Bell, who became one of England's most powerful women at the time, had primary influence on formation of newly established Iraqi administration while continuing her duty in Baghdad intelligence service. For this reason, she is referred to by Iraqi historians as Al-Hatan, or the uncrowned queen of Iraq. Although Gertrude Bell had health problems, she never returned to her native England for good. She continued to live in Iraq until age 57. However, on the night of July 12, 1926, she was found dead in her home in Baghdad. Her death was as mysterious as her life. After the autopsy, it was written in her death report that she died as a result of an overdose of sleeping pills. The following lines she wrote in her diary during the last moments of her life are remarkable. "I am very lonely here. I can't go on with this loneliness for too long." In the aftermath of her unexpected death, some thought she had committed suicide, while others suggested that she had been assassinated. Gertrude Bell's body was not taken back to England. She was buried in Baghdad with a crowded funeral ceremony attended by King Faisal of Iraq and British officials. So Queen of Desert remained in the desert. It is believed that it was the famous spy Lawrence of Arabia who struck the Ottoman Empire in the Arabian Peninsula from an unexpected place and organized Arabs. But in fact, the real power behind Lawrence was Gertrude Bell. However, it should be noted that the Middle Eastern lands, which spent peaceful and safe times under the wings of the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years, never found the freedom and peace they were looking for after the Turks were expelled from this region. For 100 years, Iraq, Syria, and the Arabian Peninsula have still not been stabilized, and the war blood and the tears have never been absent from this geography.